This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you drive long haul, short haul, or heavy haul, they're here to empower and inspire women in the trades on tncradio.live. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show designed to inspire and empower women with great information, guests, and topics designed for women. I'm Shelley, and
I'm Kathy.
Good mental health is essential. Depression, isolation, and sadness have been aggravated by the pandemic and brought mental health issues to the forefront. People often try to cope and escape through substance abuse or other destructive habits. Today we have Cristine Price, PhD, who's an expert in holistic mental health. She holds a doctorate in natural medicine and has been a mental health and addiction recovery professional for over 30 years. She has advanced training in quantum health and is the author of 4 Bodies, 4 Medicines. She's also the author of 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain Chemistry. Cristine has some great insight into many areas of mental health and information that can guide listeners on a path to healing. Welcome, Cristine. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's good to be here. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
I am too, and I thought we could begin with you telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I've been through 4 careers, I would say. So, like I said, for 30 years, I actually have 33 years of recovery. And,
Congratulations.
I'm proud of that. Every year, it's, some years are harder than others to stay on that path. But my first career was in substance abuse. And so my drug of choice was actually cocaine. And it was the one chemical that got me out of depression, which is sad to think, I dealt with decades of depression. I was, had trouble with that since childhood. And obviously it was not a long-term solution. Yeah. So in the substance abuse field, I started to look at what are long-term solutions and what are people self-medicating for. Then I went on to a degree in, a master's degree in psychology, where I started to realize these chemical imbalances aren't just about addictions, they're about mental health, obviously. And I worked as a school psychologist, and then I started, and I would say my third career is when I started my private practice. And so in my private practice, I started to have the freedom to really explore the solutions in a way that the school system had not supported, or, the government agencies had not supported. And so I got really into a lot of the alternative solutions. And my own story, I started finding nutritional neurochemistry. It's a term I use. Early in my own recovery, I started to find solutions for my depression and anxiety and all kinds of things. And I started to see that it all fit together. And so now I would say I'm a consultant, educator, trainer. I have some methods that I've developed, and I train practitioners in those, and hope to actually one day have a school where everything's together as an integrative mental health training. So there's just the nutshell.
Okay.
That's
it is
impressive.
Thank you.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. It's kind of interesting how there seems to be a disconnect on how the brain interacts with what we eat, and everything we do affects how we feel. There doesn't seem to be the understanding. I'm surprised there hasn't been a more holistic approach to mental health.
It's coming. And I feel like I'm attracting some amazing opportunities. So I'm working with a foundation right now whose goal is to really, create a shift in the industry to say, hey, let's create some real solutions for mental health. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking large scale, which is exciting to be part of.
So essentially, when we feel depressed or we feel anxious or we have various issues, is it because our brain chemistry is off? Is that what it is?
That's definitely part of it. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so this book I've written, 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain Chemistry, I can kind of outline really quickly kind of the 10 things that I've worked with. And then I want to kind of focus in on a few of those today.
That sounds terrific.
Good. Okay. So what I found is that definitely the body. So I use a diamond. So you can picture a diamond where you've got the bottom point is the physical aspects. And those are both the issues as well as the solutions. Mm-hmm. Then you've got the side points are the mental aspects, the emotional aspects, and the top of the diamond is the spiritual. So within my 10 Ways book, really about half of it's on the physical, because I think if we can resolve the body part of the mind-body connection, we're going to get a whole lot further. And that's what's missing in the mental health field. There's not anywhere near enough discussion or education on what's going on in the body. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about nutritional neurochemistry. That's the first way. Second way is to swap counterfeits for real solutions. The third is detoxification and diet. Fourth is balancing our physiology. So we have a lot of that imbalance, and it relates back to the gut. There's a lot of solutions that we can resolve with gut issues. The fifth is hydration, and I'm going to focus on that today. Sixth is sleep, which makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. And the seventh is kind of the whole sensory. There's a lot on mindfulness training, so I want to focus on that today, and how to engage the senses in a way that can restore balance. 8, 9, and 10 go back to the diamond. So thoughts, emotions, and the spirituality. So there's the quick overview of what's in the book. But I want to kind of focus today on a little bit about the neurochemistry, the counterfeits and real solutions.
Okay.
The hydration, which is really interesting. I don't know. It's a really simple fix, but it's something that people aren't aware of. And then our sensory engagement, and these are all things you can do while you're in your truck. That's what I was excited about.
Oh, that is super helpful. Absolutely. Well, yeah. I'll rely on you on where you'd like to go with this. You were talking about nutritional neurochemistry. That's really interesting. Now, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Uh-huh. So here's what I found is that in the brain, and I've kind of outlined about 5 chemicals that are really and this translates to substance use. And this is what's so fascinating is that as I was working for, over 10 years with substance abuse, I discovered some kind of common themes with people for self-medication. So you've got your uppers and your downers, right? So you've got your stimulants and your depressants. And what that looks like in the counterfeits is a counterfeit stimulant is anything from caffeine to methamphetamine. And there's that whole range and spectrum in between. So, and I think it's really common that people are using something like caffeine. Obviously there's energy drinks, there's coffee, there's, the 12-hour shots or whatever. Right. Oh, yeah. So they're all over in the gas stations.
Sure. That stuff is so bad for you.
But I'm guessing, and I'm just curious. I mean, the typical truck stop, right, is loaded with this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, and you guys will know this better than I do, but how common is that within your industry?
Pretty common.
Pretty common.
I know, like even at work, because we worked 12 and a half, 13-hour shifts, all our vending machines are filled with those monster drinks, those wake up pills, because we work night shifts and day shifts and we're all over the place. And a lot of my coworkers drink that stuff. That's the first thing they drink with, like, instead of coffee. I'm like, oh my God, like how many of those do you drink a day? You know how bad that is?
Yeah. So that's the counterfeits are the stimulants. The brain actually has in the body has its own chemical called norepinephrine or noradrenaline. And so that's natural in the body. What'll happen is that when you take a stimulant that's an excess, say, and it gives you that big jump, your own brain doesn't know what to do with that. So it responds in two ways. One, it wants homeostasis. It wants to come back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
So one, it'll start to kind of deplete, or it'll turn down its own mechanisms for creating that chemical. And two, we have this thing called receptor sites. So there's transmitters and receivers, just like a telephone. Mm-hmm. So that's what's going on right inside the brain. You've got a communication system in the neural network that looks kind of like, you're calling on one end and receiving on the other, right? So what's going in between there is not a phone signal, it's chemicals. So that's what's moving all throughout your nervous system is chemicals. So it's a chemical communication system. Is that interesting?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if everybody knows that, but
wow.
So these chemicals are communicating all throughout your body. And so in order to create balance, you're actually going to sometimes create more receptor sites for norepinephrine or noradrenaline. So with more receptor sites, it ends up becoming more hungry mouths to feed.
Okay.
So once you stop, if you turn down your intake, your brain and body take a while to catch up. They're like, wait, where's that stuff? So there's this term in addictions called chasing the dragon. And it's an interesting parable. If you ever want to check it out, there's actually some YouTube videos on this chasing the dragon idea.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is that the first time you ingest a substance, and that could be anything from alcohol to, even pot, or, there's all kinds of substances out there, right? The first time you take it, it's like you've got this virgin brain. It's like this pow, right? This, like, you've got all the chemicals just massively in the synapses, those little spaces between the transmitters and receivers, just going like wild. And you'll never get that back again. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So people are always looking for that extra high and they never, ever achieve it.
You'll never get it back again unless, so then what happens is you build up tolerance.
Uh-huh.
So that tolerance is basically your brain stops producing it, or you create more receptor sites to receive chemicals. And so then you got to take more and take more over time. So you never quite catch the dragon.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. And so then the other side of the stimulants is the depressants. And so what happens is sometimes people will start going into anxiety with too much of that norepinephrine, noradrenaline. And so that's uncomfortable. And then you need something to bring you back down, or you need to sleep at night. And so what brings you back down in regards to counterfeits would be like sleeping pills, like benzodiazepines, or alcohol. I'm trying to think if there's any other basic ones out there, but is it no-dose, or is that a stimulant? Anyway,
It's a stimulant. Yeah.
That's a stimulant. There we go. It's the ones, the over-counter sleep aids. Okay. So the ones that help you go to sleep, Salmonex, I don't know. Anyway, there's stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the most basic ones that actually is fairly safe. So if you're having to take something that's over the counter, typically Benadryl is not overly addictive. So that's, I don't know the Latin name for it, but it's over the counter, and it's even prescribed, or not prescribed, but allowed for pregnant women. And, so it's pretty safe in children and babies.
Right. It makes people sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll make you sleepy, and it doesn't seem to be very addictive. So typically, I took Benadryl for 3 years in order to try to get out of I'm one of those people that, and this is an issue too, is when you're up and down, right? So there's some of us who go up too high and down too low and live in a roller coaster. And so I was trying to manage my roller coaster by having a really predictable bedtime. And that actually was a really good idea for me to take a Benadryl every night at 9 p.m. because it started to wire me to have a routine at night. And some of us need that because we'll stay up till 1 a.m. and, be in a sleep pattern that's not, not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that for 3 years. And then one day I decided, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And I had no negative side effects from just stopping it. So that's kind of the downer side
Mm-hmm.
of all this. And then we've got, a whole other range of things. So we hear about serotonin a lot.
Yeah.
So serotonin is kind of that even keel, mellow out sort of chemical in the brain. Oh, back to the downers in the brain. That's GABA. So it stands for gamma aminobutyric acid, which GABA is actually something you can take. You can find it in health food stores sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it is very natural and mild. The difference with that and like Benadryl is that I had teenagers. I don't know if you guys can relate to having teenagers.
Oh yeah.
But I had, but the teenagers have this thing of like, how late can curfew be? And until they can drive, you've got to go pick them up at 11:30 or midnight or whatever. Right.
Sure.
So that didn't work when I was taking my Benadryl at 9 p.m. That might've been why I had to stop. I don't know. But, when you've taken something like even a Benadryl, a lot of times your brain and body are not going to overcompensate for that. Like you don't want to drive. That's a really good thing to mention right here, right? As we're talking to drivers, don't drive on that. Make sure you don't have to pull yourself together. But GABA, you can actually, your own brain can overcompensate or shift out of that if you need to, because that's what's naturally in the brain. So you can take it as a supplement. And if you need to wake back up, you can do that.
Okay. So it's a sleep aid that's more natural.
Yeah. I don't know that I'd call it a sleep aid. It's an amino acid.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so gamma aminobutyric acid is really kind of what we're talking about are all kind of based on this principle of amino acids that are the building blocks for things like serotonin. So back to serotonin, there's this interesting little process. So L-tryptophan is an amino acid. Mm-hmm. It turns into 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan. Mm-hmm. And you can actually buy 5-HTP in Walmart. Okay.
That's what's in turkey. Right.
And it is in turkey. L-tryptophan is in turkey. Correct. So so if you're looking at making, like using diet, the thing they say though, is that you'd have to eat a lot of, which we do on Thanksgiving, right? Eat a lot of turkey to get as much L-tryptophan or.
Sure. And everybody passes out.
Yeah. Because the mashed potatoes go with that too. There's a book called Potatoes, Not Prozac. And that was a life changer for me.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Uh-huh.
It's an amazing book. And I think it's Kathleen DeMasons wrote it, but she did a great job. She's a child of an alcoholic who was trying to figure out her brain chemistry in a natural way and figured out these amino acids. And so she talks a lot about serotonin in that book and explains how we can, support that naturally. So potatoes, not Prozac. But you combine the potatoes and the turkey, then you got that max load. But it's comfort food.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's comfort food. And having a good balance of serotonin gives you the sense of like, all is well. All is well. And I can just sit back and relax.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the Steve Summers Overnight Drive Show. TNCRadio.live is dedicated to commercial drivers. We offer the news, traffic, and weather you need, and the entertainment, sports, talk, music, and celebrity interviews you want to hear 24/7. We have original shows and trucker podcasts that feature some of your favorites, like Ice Road Alex Debogorski and America's Truckin' Sweetheart Marcia Campbell. TNCRadio.live is convenient and designed for professional drivers. The best part is we're free, and you can listen anywhere you are on the road. With just one tap, you can tune into Steve Summers and us right on your phone. Simply download our app, by going to app.tncradio.live. That's app.tncradio.live.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
So, Kathy, you've got probably some pretty good serotonin there. I can picture you lying out on your lounger there in Vegas. Is that where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas.
In the sun.
Oh, I'm sitting here feeling like a zombie. I probably look like one too right now, right at the moment, but just coming off the night shifts and trying to find my energy for the day shift, trying to, flip back over. It's really physically difficult. So I don't know what's going on chemically, but all I know is that I have an Americano sitting right beside me.
Yeah, try to wake you up.
A large.
Yep. Yeah. And, and so these natural solutions we can find a lot of those in diet. So, so comfort foods are going to give you that serotonin level, relaxation, comfort level. But if you wanted to wake up with diet instead of a cup of coffee,
Uh-huh.
you could do that by actually taking out the comfort foods. And it's interesting. So a lot of those diets that are popular, and I've watched them over a couple decades now. So there was South Beach and Atkins and paleo, and now it's keto, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what they all have in common is they're taking out your carbs, right? So when you take out the carbs, you're just doing protein and, vegetables, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And, some fats or whatever. But what you're doing is you're giving your brain more of the amino acids, because you get those in a high protein diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've taken the carbs out. And so you're not getting into your comfort levels as much. So your body will lose weight. You'll be more stimulated from that type of diet naturally. But yeah. And another way of looking at it is your pH level. If your pH level is more alkaline, you tend to have more energy and lose weight easier. And so it's all those carbs, things you buy from a box will lower your pH, make it more acidic. And then you'll also lose your energy level a little bit.
Do you want to be more alkaline than acidic?
Yes, you do. So they even found, like, with cancer, there, when you hear about people that are trying to do some natural approaches to either prevent or treat early stage cancers, they go into a real alkaline diet. So it's very health promoting. And so that's like green smoothies.
Okay.
And, and the high protein diets.
Okay.
Are pretty alkaline.
And people can test their pH with just with their saliva, right?
Yeah, you can test it, but like when you're feeling alkaline, it's like you're sluggish. You're like, you might have body aches and pains. You feel heavy.
When you're feeling alkaline? Okay.
When you're acidic. Sorry.
When you're acidic. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so then when you shift to alkaline, you feel lighter. You feel more energetic. You feel, like a little like limber, I would say. Because part of what's going on with the acidic diet is it's creating free radicals, all that stuff in your body that you've got to clean up.
Sure. So your body's working overtime. It's
working really hard. Just kind of, you work your body real hard when you're acidic. Yeah.
Okay.
So an alkaline diet, or there's alkaline water. So that helps. That's a great segue to hydration. So anyway, I covered 3 of the chemicals, but I think those are the basics that I think a lot of people need to, or will be able to wrap their head around.
So what are the things that people should eat to feel better overall?
Chocolate.
Oh yeah.
That works for me.
So it does depend, because if you're trying to feel better as far as which chemical, right? And so back to the serotonin, I didn't really talk about the counterfeits for serotonin, but those are like marijuana is actually gives you that feel that the serotonin, high levels of serotonin would. And then antidepressants are, they're the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, so those are, isn't that interesting?
It just sounds scary, doesn't it? Yeah.
So if you wanted to increase your serotonin levels, you'd have some potatoes and turkey, right? But that's the trick, is to understand the amino acids a little bit more. And, and you could use some supplements, or you could manage your food so that, I recommend when you wake up in the morning, I actually do intermittent fasting. And I think intermittent fasting is a really good way to give your body a break and then kind of structure your energy levels. So I have more energy in the morning if I don't eat and wait till about noon.
Mm-hmm.
And eat between about noon and 6.
Okay.
So that works for me, but everybody's kind of, it's a self-awareness kind of process. And then at noon, I typically have a salad or a smoothie. So I don't have carbs until 6 p.m. ish, dinner time.
Okay. And is that your big meal typically?
And so a big meal at dinner, which increases your serotonin levels. So then you want to go into that kind of serotonin state after you're done working, or you can relax, so you could time food a little bit around where you want your energy to be.
I know when I've been working really, really hard, of course, I get hungry. I found like pasta gives me energy.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if that's typical with everybody, but that kind of carbs, is that kind of a quick energy boost or?
Well, they say that carbs is where you get your energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm very sensitive to grains.
Okay.
And so you've got to know a little bit about your food sensitivities as well. Somebody who's sensitive to dairy, that's going to create a lot of free radicals, right? If they, and that's going to put their body to work a lot harder to try to manage that. Right. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, grains will just kind of like drop my energy.
Okay.
And potatoes are okay for me. Yeah. I do the keto. Well, I do the paleo diet. I
eat potatoes probably every day. That was the first solid food my mom ever gave me. So
they seem to be low allergenic, or you've got other foods that are a lot more, that cause a lot more issues they call them, actually, they create neurotoxins.
Mm-hmm.
So dairy and grains do create some neurotoxins for people.
Sure. Yeah, I had a lot of food allergies as a kid, so I can relate.
Yeah. In the last 2 years, I became celiac, and I've had to radically modify my diet. And personally, I've noticed how much better I feel now that I don't have any gluten in my system at all.
Yeah.
I remember when I would eat pasta or any carbs, it would immediately put me into a slump. I couldn't, I'm tired. I can't function. I'm yawning. And now that I have like rice pasta, like the gluten-free stuff, what a difference in my own digestive system and how much better I feel. And the same goes if I eat potatoes, I immediately want to sleep.
So yeah, you're sensitive. Yeah. That's interesting. So I do have a chapter in the book called, it's based on the elimination diet. Mm-hmm. It's on the detoxification and diet part. Okay. But I actually got that from the Potatoes Not Prozac book, the concept. Mm-hmm. And so the trick is to figure out what is your personal, like, food sensitivities. And so it's a gradual, like you go into a fasting mode and then you gradually introduce foods, just like you would with babies, right?
Sure.
When you're talking about babies that you want to know, like, are they going to react to this? So you give time between each type of food that you bring back in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
I remembered as a child going to the allergist, and that's exactly what they did. They took me off. First of all, I did a scratch test, and I reacted to just a bunch of things. And they took me off a bunch of foods and started reintroducing certain foods to see how I reacted. And I was just allergic to all kinds of things. I couldn't have chocolate, citrus, soy, dairy. I mean, my mother had to make special food for me. It was just amazing. And going to the store, I was constantly reading ingredients. It's like, Mom, I can have this, you know? Yeah. You know, we'd go to the restaurant. I couldn't have butter, so I'd have to bring my own margarine, my own dressing. It was like,
I'm so sorry. And you're dealing with that as a kid, huh?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was reintroduced to a lot of this at the age of 16. And it was really funny because I really didn't know how to eat an ice cream cone. So it was quite the joke with my friends. It's like, hey, man, that's going down your arm there.
That's funny.
But it was a treat to be able to finally eat some of this stuff. And I could. And the whole thought behind that was to give my body the ability to tolerate. And I learned what my body cannot tolerate. My stomach will let me know, you know.
Yeah, it's that self-awareness. And, for me, like I was figuring a lot of this out around the time I was taking a nutrition course at my bachelor's program. And what they were teaching, especially this was back when they were doing the food pyramid with, you need to have 7 grains a day,
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't working. So you got to be more intuitive and get outside the box of what I think, and people are doing that more now, than they were in the 90s, but we've got to be able to be more, I think, self-aware and intuitive about what we need.
Sure. Yeah. And I remember when I was growing up too, a lot of adults would say, oh, that's all in your head. It's like, no, it isn't. I really do get sick if I eat this,
Yeah.
And I think today people are more understanding. They realize food really can make you sick. If you don't eat the right thing, it can make you feel like crap. It can make you feel really good. So.
Yeah. And it affects mental health.
Yep.
And, our stress levels and such.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com. Kathy Tuccaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
So I want to talk about this really interesting finding with salt.
Okay.
So there's, and part of this is understanding we've kind of messed with our food sources, right? So in the divine design of food, if you look at really truly natural food, it's got a combination of things. And we started kind of messing with this when we started refining flour, for example, because the whole wheat has certain minerals in it, including, I think, chromium. And when you refine that whole wheat to make it white flour, you take out those minerals. And then that messes with your blood sugar more. And same thing with like molasses or, a natural sugar versus refined white sugar. And so they talk about, the problem with the white stuff.
Yeah.
White flour sugar. Yeah. So it's the same thing with salt. And this is the thing I don't think people are talking about as much is white salt is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
But unrefined salt is actually health promoting.
Well, like sea salt and.
Well, they say sea salt, but you've got to look, is it colored? That's the key. So there's this big thing about sea salt, but I was in a store and I picked up some sea salt and it was still white. It was still refined.
Oh,
that's the issue.
Good to know.
It is good to know. So there's a huge difference between refined and unrefined salt.
Okay.
So the unrefined salt, I'll give you a few examples. Celtic is like gray and it's clumpy. It's like you kind of have to either put it in a grinder or figure out, like what do I do with that? Because it's a lot of times it's not shaker ready.
Right.
So Celtic is one. Then you've got Himalayan, which is pretty common. You want to make sure you get a good quality. I'm kind of worried about, I heard a little bit about, when they start mass producing, you don't always know if you're going to get the same quality, but that's the pink stuff.
Okay. So that's a better one.
So Himalayan is, yes, if you're looking at, you want to look at sourcing if possible, but yeah, that's pink salt that you see a lot more common.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is called real salt. And it comes, I live here in northern Utah, and we have the Great Salt Lake. And that Great Salt Lake has been, they're taking that natural salt and they've turned it into what they call real salt. And so it's speckled. It's kind of like it's got some brown and red and it's speckly. Interesting. So those are three kind of types of unrefined salts. And so here's the interesting thing is that what's different is that unrefined salt has a balance of minerals, including potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sodium. And so those 4 minerals are really important to have in balance in your nervous system. So I'll say them again. So it's potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sodium. And so they actually kind of create this 4-way balance, if you want to look at it that way. And if you can have a balance of those minerals, your whole nervous system works better. So I'll give you my story. So I was chronically under stress. And this is the thing, like so many people are dealing with this, right? This high stress levels. And, your body goes into fight flight mode. So back to that noradrenaline, if we're pumping out this adrenaline all the time, we're going to end up, basically kind of throwing our nervous system into hyperdrive, right? And then it exhausts the nervous system and the nervous system needs replenishment. And the way you replenish the nervous system is through those especially potassium, magnesium, and calcium.
Okay.
So those minerals, if you can just increase those minerals, you can sometimes balance out, because we don't usually need more sodium. We usually have plenty, right? Especially if you're doing fast food, high levels of sodium in fast food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually a product that I discovered and it changed my life. I've been taking it literally every day for 15 years. Okay. Do you want to hear it?
Oh,
what
yeah,
it is?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So it comes from a company called Standard Process, and Standard Process they source all of the ingredients for their supplements in their own farms. So they're very aware of like the soil quality and the organic farming, which is really nice. And what they do is they create what are called whole food supplements. So they actually take these whole foods to build the supplement, because back to what I was saying, there's a natural divine design to food. Okay. So they take the whole food to create the supplement.
Okay.
So if you look at the ingredients, it's not just, you can go out and buy a calcium supplement, but what they have in their ingredients is they have like, it's kelp or it's, alfalfa. Okay. So it's a really condensed version of this green stuff typically, or this natural, food element. And so they have a product called Mintran. Okay. And Mintran is basically these minerals if you look at min, it's basically the minerals that will help balance out the nervous system.
So you have more energy and maybe feel better. And
well, it gives you that. It's really good for stress. And, if you're in that roller coaster,
yeah,
it stabilizes the roller coaster and, manages that stress level than anything I've seen. And you're doing it by just addressing the minerals, which the minerals are the little, kind of like, think about channels in, that get, the receivers and the transmitters we talked about, the transmitters.
Yeah.
They flow through these channels. And so you have what are called like calcium channels or sodium channels or potassium channels. So it's like little waterways.
Sure. And doesn't that kind of balance the polarity in the body? Because
yes,
they're all electrical signals.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's all connected to the amino acids and everything works better. So yeah, that's one of the best things I found. And you can find sometimes a really good supplement like calcium, magnesium together can be really helpful for reducing stress. People talk about magnesium more, I think, as a way to calm the nervous system.
Sure.
If you combine it with calcium, it's nice balance. So yeah, so that's a fun trick. Or you can just make sure you're getting enough unrefined salt.
Yep.
And if you can completely switch to unrefined salt and not have any refined salt, it also supports the balance.
I think that the key thing here is natural. Anything that's processed is probably bad for us, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It throws things out of balance. Yep.
Have you ever heard of the Himalayan black salt?
I've heard of it.
I bought it when I was in Tibet, and it's supposed to.
You got to go to Tibet
and Nepal. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Gosh.
And I bought a whole bunch. It was only 50 cents, so I bought like 6 packs, and it's supposed to. Because I have a thyroid issue, and it's supposed to really balance the thyroid. And I don't take it consistently because I'm everywhere all the time, and I don't think to remember to bring my little container of Himalayan black salt. But I know that, not that I've noticed a difference, but I've just done a lot of research on it, and it's supposed to be excellent for you. Absolutely excellent, on top of better than pink salt, the Himalayan pink salt. So
good to know. Good to know.
I am excited. I want to check that out.
Yeah, I just made a note of that because I have a thyroid issue too. Mine's actually hyperthyroid. I've got Graves' disease. So I will check this out.
Yeah. So I got that in Nepal, and that's what they were saying. So
excellent.
Yeah, there's natural forms of iodine. In fact, that same company, Standard Process, does a natural iodine supplement. So it's called Iodomir, and I take Iodomir for my thyroid. It works better than the meds I've been prescribed.
Oh yeah, because the meds are synthetic.
Yeah,
I've been on Synthroid for like 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
How do you spell Iodomir?
Iodomir. Yeah, isn't that interesting? But you can't.
Check that out.
Usually, sometimes you need to find a healthcare professional to get Standard Process because they're designed to be like, they call it pharmaceutical grade. So you kind of want to know what you're doing, but go online. Everything's online, at least for a minute until they pull it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Or until the doctor starts screaming because everybody's asking them questions that they don't want to answer.
Well, yeah. And the policy with Standard Process is they want it to go through a health professional.
Oh,
so they try to stay on top of that, but
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But
we have about 4 minutes left, give or take. I wanted you to be able to cover all of the topics you mentioned. So
yeah. And so the other one was the mindfulness. And so I just kind of want to cover, our 5 senses are ways to connect into our balance, if that makes sense. And so there's visual, and trying to just really be in the present moment is so powerful. And just, I go on walks and try to just really engage with what's around me. And you can do that driving, right? You can get out of your head and just really appreciate the mountains to the side, or really like tune into, I laugh because I know that truck drivers can look down inside our cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, think about that person next to you, ever, right? Mm-hmm. But visual is one, auditory is another. Music is powerful.
Oh, I love
so
it.
if you can use music, you can actually use music to change your brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So there, in the morning, you might want something a little jazzier, or in the evening, you might want to go to that, the chill station or whatever.
Sure.
And use that. And then you've got olfactory. And there's a lot of people that are into essential oils now, right? So essential oils are powerful. You can actually use certain types of essential oils to change your brain chemistry. And it actually works directly with your limbic brain, the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that you can't always communicate with, to tell it. Yeah. And this is your fight flight mechanism to say, chill out. Right. You're okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So lavender is an example on that. So gustatory engagement, that would be using food and really taking your time when you eat. Because if you can do mindfulness with eating, you don't eat as much, and it gives your body permission to really incorporate what you're eating in the way that it can be to serve the highest good.
So mom wasn't just teaching me good manners when I was eating. It had a purpose. Okay.
And touch, obviously, wrapping in a warm blanket, we love those microfibers, right? And just feeling connected or warm, or, having, some sort of texture sometimes just gives you a sense of grounding.
Mm-hmm. Or having a cat in your lap.
Yeah, kitties.
Mm-hmm.
I love kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also want to emphasize movement, because, and I try to empathize with the truck driver that's sitting for 13 hours. Can't even imagine.
Oh, God.
And so but I'm addicted to work, and I sit at my computer for 8 a day, easy some days.
Yeah.
And so I've got, the thing on my watch that says time to get up. And I've got a puppy, and puppy says time to go outside.
Yeah. But
movement is so important if we want to stay in balance. And what'll happen is, anxiety will actually build up, and it's released through the arms and legs. So that's what we call the peripheral nervous system. And so even if you've got, and I was trying to picture truckers. And so Smokey and the Bandit, I think that was the movie where he's got this pulley weight in the cab. Mm-hmm. Do you remember? Anyway, I remember thinking about, if I had to be a truck driver, I'd have to have one of those. I'd have to be able to work my arms. Sure, and so I actually have a set of weights next to my computer.
Okay.
And so to just take some time and just, move that energy through your arms, and then get up and just even walk in place.
You can use people who say that, I don't have room to do whatever. I use in the truck, I'll get out and stretch, or I'll do push-ups off the railing. Yeah. Or I'll do lunges on the deck, or, I'll do squats. I'll do, just side stretches, anything to get some movement in my sore limbs.
Good idea.
Movement is so important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be an hour, 5 minutes.
No, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
So we just have a couple more minutes. Was there another point? I think you talked about hydration. Was that?
So back to hydration was actually tied to the salt, which was really interesting. So the cells are designed so that they need a balance of minerals in order to hydrate. And so if you're dehydrated, this is the crazy thing, is you actually can take unrefined salt and water together. Uh-huh. And it hydrates you more than just water alone.
Interesting. Okay.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. Wasn't that how Gatorade, isn't there something in Gatorade?
Yeah, there's electrolytes in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But even I think as important as electrolytes is these minerals in the right balance.
Makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this can make us feel better. Obviously, there's so many things to unpack here. I think we need to have you back, Cristine, because you've got some great insight here. Oh, my goodness. What do you think, Kathy? Did you have any questions for Cristine before we wrap up?
Oh my God, I have so many, but maybe I'll catch them next time. You're just so fascinating. And I find that especially with truckers and people who sit in equipment or even in vehicles, there's so much information that we tend to forget. So it's good to have reminders like this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you back. That's fabulous.
Yeah, because if we can feel better naturally, that's what it's all about.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And it's gentler.
I know you did say about how taking in the moments helps your mental health. When I'm at work and if I'm stressed out, I will look out to these last nights have been really stressful. Well, the Northern Lights have helped me out through every single night because they're so beautiful. They're dancing across the sky, and the colors, and they're so close because I'm so far North Canada. That immediately sends me into a different space, and I'm like, okay, this is worth it.
Sure.
Yeah. Use what you have around you to bring yourself some inner peace.
Good point. I like that.
Oh yeah. Take it in and just be with it, Just
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be in the moment. So many people aren't.
Oh.
They need to be.
And sometimes you got to get your nervous system calmed or get those, overstimulation in balance so that you can. So it all works together.
Well, I love this information. Cristine, where do people find you?
Oh yeah. CristinePrice.com. There's no H in Cristine.
So it's CRISTINE.
Yeah. PRICE.com. And I've got the 10 ways to balance your brain chemistry. I've got a couple of audio recordings on that. So
cool.
We can listen while you're driving.
Yeah.
And an ebook version of that. So pretty handy to just grab on the run.
Excellent. Well, I want to have you back. I want to learn more. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'd love to come back. And I'm working on a fiction novel related to recovery. And so I think we talked about looking at that too.
That'd be great. Yeah. Oh, this has been great, Cristine. Some great information for our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah. And, and I'm so appreciative to all those truck drivers out there. We need you. We need you, to be healthy and well and enjoy your jobs. That you deserve that and get us, keep us all working and, keep everything flowing.
Drivers are frontline workers. Nothing would move without them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
So grateful.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at info@tncradio.live.
Thank you for listening to another great interview on tncradio.live. All of the material you hear on tncradio.live on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of tncradio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.